The humans would all burn everything they touched in the galaxy on their march to total domination, and it was a fundamental law of the universe that nobody, under any circumstances, should ever approach them unprovoked unless they wanted to become a charred memory. Volar's mandibles clicked in concern as he scanned the frantic distress signal from the Bolian outpost near human space, smoke still rising from the smoldering computers. The desperate message detailed a brutal attack, with descriptions of advanced weaponry and a merciless efficiency that pointed to only one possible culprit: humans. Fear flooded the old Bolian commander's veins as he realized the horrible implications. "Sir, awaiting your orders," Volar's lieutenant prompted nervously. "Do we send a recon team?" Volar stared at the distress signal, antennas twitching. The Bolians needed answers, but approaching human space was beyond reckless. It was suicidal. Light years away, hardened human soldier Jeffrey Young grimaced as he strapped on his combat armor, muscles taut. His strike team had intercepted the Bolian distress call too, and was preparing to investigate, weapons primed. Jeffrey didn't trust this at all. Decades of fighting in the gritty frontiers of space had honed his instincts razor sharp. This reeked of a trap. Jeffrey turned to his second-in-command, Derek. "I want everyone on high alert. Stay frosty. Something's not right here." Derek nodded, face grim. The human soldiers finished their gear checks in tense silence, preparing to charge headfirst into the unknown. Volar's recon ship dropped out of warp at the outpost, sensors straining. What they found sent chills down the Bolian spines. The outpost was utterly decimated, bodies strewn about, buildings torn open. Scorch marks from high-yield plasma weapons marred the wreckage, and there, scorched into a wall, was the human insignia. Volar's worst fears were confirmed. The humans had done this. Jeffrey's strike team arrived shortly after, scouring the destruction, securing the perimeter with cold efficiency. As they dug through the rubble, a terrible picture began to emerge. The Bolians had been experimenting with a strange and powerful new energy source, something that had clearly attracted deadly interest from the wrong parties. Jeffrey frowned as he studied a scrap of human armor, unmarked and stripped of ID tags. This hadn't been the work of Earth's main government. This stank of a rogue Black Ops group, some shady faction acting without oversight. But why? To get this new energy source? To provoke a war? Questions swirled in Jeffrey's mind as he turned to his team, jaw set. They needed to uncover what the hell was going on. Fast. Before this sparked an interstellar conflict that could slaughter billions. Back on his ship, Volar urgently calmed Bolian High Command. "We must proceed cautiously," he insisted. Engaging the humans overtly could be catastrophic. But as the sensor data filtered back, a group of hawkish Bolian generals saw only one thing: an act of war, an unforgivable human transgression. They snarled at Volar. "You have your orders, Commander. Find those humans and make them pay." End of discussion. Volar stared at the blank screen in numb horror. His orders were clear. Take his ships into human territory and hunt down those responsible. It was lunacy. It was necessary. And it might just be the spark that ignited the greatest war the galaxy had ever seen. As the Bolian ships powered up their drives and the human strike team raced to find answers, the very stars seemed to tremble, balancing on the razor's edge between fragile peace and cataclysmic destruction. And all the while, whispers of some long-lost alien artifact of immense power flitted between the shadows, a prize that could shift the destiny of worlds. The only certainty was this: war was coming, and heaven help them all if clever soldiers like Jeffrey and Volar couldn't stop it in time. Jeffrey's strike team moved swiftly, their boots clanging against the metal grates as they navigated the dimly lit corridors of the remote asteroid base. The intel had been solid. This was the heart of the rogue human faction's operations. Alcoves and doorways flashed by as they advanced, weapons at the ready. The base thrummed with an eerie quiet. Jeffrey signaled a halt, his instincts screaming. It was too quiet. The silence shattered as a barrage of plasma fire erupted from multiple directions. Heavily armed rebels poured from the shadows, their weapons spitting deadly energy. Jeffrey's team reacted instantly, diving for cover and returning fire. The air crackled with the exchange of superheated plasma bolts. Smoke and the stench of ozone filled the corridor. "Flank left!" Jeffrey barked, popping up to squeeze off a burst from his rifle. A rebel crumpled, his chest a smoking ruin. The battle raged, a fierce, close-quarters firefight. Jeffrey's team pushed forward relentlessly, their training and superior tactics turning the tide. One by one, the rebels fell. In the chaos, Jeffrey spied a rebel officer barking orders, directing the enemy fire. With a burst of speed, Jeffrey lunged, tackling the officer and slamming him to the ground. A few well-placed blows, and the officer was subdued, the fight knocked out of him. Jeffrey hauled the rebel up, slamming him against the wall. "Who are you working for?" he snarled. "What's your objective?" The officer spat blood, his eyes defiant. But as Jeffrey's grip tightened, he broke. "We're the Human Ascendancy Movement," he gasped. "Commander Marcus Xander leads us. He believes it's humanity's destiny to rule the galaxy. And that alien artifact will give us the power to do it." Jeffrey's blood ran cold. A rogue faction with dreams of galactic domination, led by a charismatic fanatic. And they were after a powerful alien artifact. The implications were horrifying. Light years away, Volar's Bolian strike force emerged from warp at the coordinates where they'd tracked the mysterious energy signature. Before them drifted a derelict alien ship, its hull pitted and scarred. As they boarded, the Bolians moved cautiously through the darkened corridors, their weapons primed. Volar led from the front, his senses straining. Without warning, a hail of plasma fire tore through the Bolians' ranks. Heavily armed humans lunged from the shadows, the insignia of the Human Ascendancy Movement emblazoned on their armor. Leading the charge was none other than Marcus Xander himself, his eyes alight with fervor. Volar roared a challenge, charging to meet Xander head-on. Around them, Bolians and rebels clashed in a vicious melee, plasma blades flashing and rifles barking. The air grew thick with the stench of blood and burnt metal. Volar and Xander collided, trading devastating blows, their personal combat a microcosm of the larger battle raging around them. They were two commanders driven by unshakable convictions, neither willing to yield. Just as the tide began to turn against the Bolians, the sound of fresh weapons fire echoed through the ship. Jeffrey and his team had arrived, tracking the Ascendancy's movements. The human soldiers waded into the fray, turning the battle's momentum. Xander, seeing his chance slipping away, broke from his duel with Volar and lunged for the artifact pulsing at the heart of the ship. But Jeffrey was there to meet him, tackling the rebel commander and engaging him in a brutal hand-to-hand brawl. As Jeffrey finally subdued Xander with a devastating blow, the artifact flared to life, engulfing the ship in a blinding pulse of energy. Reality shifted and twisted. When the light cleared, Jeffrey, Volar, and the few surviving combatants found themselves no longer on the ship, but transported to an alien realm beyond their wildest imaginings. The artifact, it seemed, was not merely a weapon, but a gateway to a domain utterly unknown. In the primary galaxy, the disappearance of Jeffrey and Volar's forces sent shockwaves rippling through the human and Bolian commands. Factions on both sides, ignorant of the true nature of events, hurled accusations of treachery, pushing the two species to the brink of total war. But in the alien realm, Jeffrey and Volar found themselves facing a challenge unlike any before, setting aside their conflict and working together to survive an environment that defied explanation. Strange creatures and the remnants of an impossibly advanced civilization surrounded them. As they explored and unraveled the secrets of this realm, a staggering realization took shape. The artifact was no mere trinket or weapon, but a test, a crucible designed to bring worthy species together and forge alliances that could transcend the divisions that had always plagued them. The only way home would be to pass this test and return with the knowledge to prevent their two peoples from descending into a war that could destroy them all. In this strange realm, the fate of galaxies would be decided not by armies and fleets, but by the ability of two soldiers to find common ground. Jeffrey ducked as a barbed tendril whipped over his head, narrowly missing him. He rolled and came up firing, his plasma rifle searing through the alien vegetation. Beside him, Volar's mandibles clicked in agitation as he blasted another writhing plant creature. "This place is insane," Jeffrey panted, scanning for more threats. "Everything wants to kill us." Volar grunted in agreement. "We must find shelter soon. Our supplies run low." They pushed on through the hostile terrain, forced to work together despite their lingering mistrust. Suddenly, Volar froze, his antennae twitching. "Movement ahead, not Flora." Jeffrey raised his weapon as shapes emerged from the mist. Tall, willowy figures with iridescent skin approached, their eyes glowing with an inner light. "Peace," one of them said, raising empty hands. "I am Zora of the Kailari. We mean you no harm." Jeffrey and Volar exchanged wary glances before lowering their weapons slightly. Zora led them to a hidden encampment where other Kailari tended to makeshift dwellings. "You are not the first to be brought here by the artifact," Zora explained, her voice tinged with sadness. "We have been trapped in this realm for centuries." As night fell, Zora shared the Kailari's history around a bioluminescent fire. "Our people once traveled between realms, seeding life across the cosmos. But a great calamity forced us to flee here. Now, we merely survive." Jeffrey leaned forward, intrigued. "You know about the artifact. Can you help us get home?" Zora's eyes sparkled. "Perhaps. I sense in you both the potential for greatness. If you can overcome your differences, you might succeed where we failed." Before she could elaborate, plasma fire erupted from the darkness. Kailari fell, their bodies smoking. A harsh voice rang out. "Heretics! The artifact's power belongs to us alone." Chaos erupted as Kravox and his rogue Kailari attacked. Jeffrey and Volar found themselves fighting back-to-back, their earlier mistrust forgotten in the heat of battle. "We need to get out of here," Jeffrey shouted, dragging a wounded Zora to cover. Volar spotted familiar faces in the melee, Ascendancy soldiers who'd been transported with them. "This way," he called. The unlikely allies fought their way through Kravox's forces, Zora guiding them despite her injuries. They battled through twisting corridors of living stone until they reached a vast chamber filled with pulsing technology. As Kravox's troops closed in, Zora collapsed. With her dying breath, she gestured to a glowing pillar. "The repository, our knowledge, use it wisely." Jeffrey activated the device, and a holographic display sprang to life, filling the chamber with images of Kailari history and science. "Find the truth," Zora whispered. "Unite your people. Only then can you master the artifact's power." As Kravox's forces breached the chamber, Jeffrey and Volar shared a look of understanding. Whatever their past differences, survival now demanded cooperation. They turned to face the oncoming threat, newfound allies at their backs, and the secrets of the Kailari within reach. The holographic display flickered to life, bathing Jeffrey and Volar in an eerie blue glow. Streams of data and images flooded their senses as they delved into the repository's depths. "By the stars," Volar breathed, his mandibles clicking in awe. "The Kailari, they were the first." Jeffrey's eyes widened as he absorbed the information. They seeded life across the galaxy. Our worlds, our species. We owe our existence to them. As they dug deeper, the truth unfolded before them. The rise of the Kailari, their mastery of the artifact, and the cultivation of countless worlds. But with each revelation came a growing sense of unease. "No," Jeffrey muttered, his face pale. "It can't be." The holograms shifted, showing scenes of devastation. Kailari turned against Kailari, their advanced technology unleashing untold destruction. "They nearly destroyed themselves," Volar said, his voice heavy. "Their pursuit of power consumed them." Jeffrey nodded grimly. "And they almost took the rest of the galaxy with them." The final entries in the repository revealed the Kailari's ultimate decision. The artifact, once a tool of domination, would become a test, a crucible to forge unity among species and prevent the mistakes of the past. As the last hologram faded, Jeffrey and Voller exchanged looks of understanding. The weight of their newfound knowledge settled upon them. "We've been manipulated," Jeffrey said, his teeth clenched. "This whole conflict, it's all part of the trial." Vollar's antennae twitched in agreement. "Then we must end it. Together." They gathered their allies, human and Bolian alike, and shared what they had learned. The revelation sparked heated debate, but ultimately, a plan took shape. Using the artifact's power, they transported themselves and their enemies to a barren, rocky expanse. Jagged mountains loomed in the distance under an alien sky. The battle erupted with furious intensity. Plasma bolts seared the air as both sides clashed. Jeffrey and Voller fought side by side, their earlier mistrust forgotten in the heat of combat. But as the tide began to turn against them, Jeffrey spotted something that made his blood run cold. Kravox stood atop a ridge, wielding a weapon unlike any he'd seen before. It pulsed with an otherworldly energy that seemed to distort the very fabric of reality around it. "Volar!" Jeffrey shouted over the din of battle. "We have to stop him!" They fought their way towards Kravox, but with each step, Jeffrey's heart sank. The weapon's power was too great. There was only one way to end this. Jeffrey turned to Voller, his eyes filled with grim tenacity. "I know what I have to do." Voller hesitated, then nodded solemnly. "Your sacrifice will not be forgotten." With a deep breath, Jeffrey charged forward. He tackled Kravox, wresting the weapon from his grasp. As Kravox howled in rage, Jeffrey locked eyes with Voller one last time. Tell them we passed the test." Jeffrey activated the weapon. A blinding flash engulfed him and the other humans. When the light faded, they were gone. Silence fell over the battlefield. The surviving Bolians looked to Voller, their expressions a mix of awe and disbelief. Before Voller could speak, the air shimmered. The alien realm dissolved around them, replaced by the familiar stars of their home galaxy. As Voller's ship materialized around them, he knew their journey was nowhere near the end. They carried with them the wisdom of the Kailari and the weight of Jeffrey's sacrifice. It would be up to them to forge a new path for their people. The harsh glare of the Bolian High Command's war room struck Voller's eyes as he materialized. His antennae twitched, adjusting to the familiar surroundings. The faces of his fellow officers, once allies in battle, now looked at him with a mix of awe and suspicion. Admiral Jen, her blue skin wrinkled with age and worry, approached. "Volar, we feared you lost. What happened out there?" Voller's mind raced, the weight of the Kailari's knowledge pressing upon him. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Admiral, I've seen things that will change everything we thought we knew about our place in the galaxy." Over the next hours, Voller recounted their ordeal in the alien realm. He spoke of the Kailari, of the artifact's true purpose, and of Jeffrey's sacrifice. As he finished, a heavy silence fell over the room. Admiral Jen's eyes narrowed. "This is difficult to believe, Voller. You're saying our entire conflict with the humans was engineered." Before Voller could respond, General Krath banged his hand on the table. "Lies! Human tricks to weaken our perseverance." His voice dripped with venom. "We should strike now, while they're vulnerable." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. Voller felt his heart sink as he watched the seeds of conflict take root once more. Days passed, and despite Voller's efforts, tensions escalated. He stood on the bridge of his ship, watching as reports flooded in of Krath's raids on human colonies. "Sir," a young officer called out, "we're receiving distress signals from Outpost Sigma 7. It's under attack." Vollar's mandibles clicked in frustration. He opened a channel to the human defense fleet. "This is Commander Voller of the Bolian Expeditionary Force. We're not all your enemies. Let us help." Static crackled, then a gruff human voice responded, "Negative, Bolian. We don't need your kind of help." The channel cut off abruptly. Voller watched helplessly as human and Bolian ships exchanged fire, their weapons lighting up the void of space. In the following weeks, Voller found himself increasingly isolated. He paced the halls of High Command, overhearing whispers of traitor and human sympathizer. Finally, He could take no more. Under the cover of night, Volar slipped away from his quarters, making his way to a small, unmarked shuttle. As he input the coordinates for Krath's stronghold, a voice behind him made him freeze. "Going somewhere, Commander?" Volar turned to find Lieutenant Thara, one of his most trusted officers. Her expression was unreadable. "I have to try, Thara," Volar said softly. "If I can make Krath see reason, maybe we can end this madness." Thara hesitated, then nodded. "I'm coming with you." Together, they launched into the darkness of space, the fate of two species hanging in the balance. Hours later, they approached Krath's fortress, a massive structure carved into an asteroid. Volar's hands moved deftly over the controls, guiding their shuttle into a narrow maintenance shaft. They emerged into dimly lit corridors, the air thick with the hum of machinery. Volar and Thara moved silently, their weapons ready. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with General Krath himself, flanked by heavily armed guards. Krath's eyes narrowed. "Volar, I should have known you'd try something foolish." Volar raised his hand slowly. "Krath, please, listen to me. This war will destroy us all. The artifact—" "Enough!" Krath roared. He turned to his guards. "Take them to the brig. I'll deal with these traitors personally." As Volar was led away, he caught a glimpse of Thara. Her expression was one of unbreakable spirit. He realized with a sinking feeling that he might have led them both to their doom. In the cold darkness of the brig, Volar closed his eyes, hoping against hope that someone, somewhere, would see the truth before it was too late.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.